Learning how to live a life in recovery. I'm Lisa Oligas, and you're watching Newsmakers. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, overdose is the leading cause of death for adults ages 18 to 44. Overcoming addiction and staying clean is a challenge. A local group called Ascent Recovery helps males struggling with substance abuse disorders by providing a residence and program designed to reintegrate them to become productive members of society. Ascent recently moved from renting property to purchasing a home and is on a mission to pay off the mortgage. In this edition of Newsmakers, we talk with the founder of Ascent Recovery Residence and the Recovery Outreach Community Center, or ROC, plus a graduate of the program who now works as a certified peer specialist for Ascent and at the ROC. We begin our conversation with Ascent Recovery founder Teddy Steen. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, Teddy, you started this program. What makes you so passionate about wanting to help those in recovery? What's your connection?
Well, number one, I'm in recovery myself and have been for 39 years. And I've always, since I was 10 years old, I drove past Turnaround Ranch when I was 10 years old. It was Big Brothers. And I said, Mom, what do they do there? They said, well, they help juvenile delinquent boys. And I said, I think I want to work there someday. I don't know. God gave me a calling for some reason.
Yeah.
I did not know I was going to have to be a drug addict to fulfill it, but that's the plan.
Well,
and
you did say you're 39 years in recovery. Is it once you're in recovery, you're always in recovery? In the sense of you say you're still in recovery?
I'm still in recovery. Some people say recovered. I've always said recovery because the disease, you can rid yourself of the cravings and the impulses and things like that, but I just choose to say, and a lot of people, it's a difference in opinion. Now, in the big book, it says we were recovered, but it doesn't mean that our illness has gone away or our biological tendency towards the disease, because it is a actual disease. It's physical, mental, spiritual. Now, as long as I keep the physical away by not using or drinking, then I am spiritually fit and I continue to help others, then that will keep my disease at bay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So Joplin has multiple recovery programs. What makes Ascent stand out? Tell us how this program works.
Well, this program, number one, it is a community. It's called therapeutic community style. They don't have any house managers. The community makes the decisions within. Now guaranteed, they've got a whole long list of rules to follow because it's very structured. It's very action-oriented.
Okay.
You've got to make plans. You've got to get a job. You can't have a cell phone, so that's big.
That's a big one.
You can't have a girlfriend. That's big. You can't have a computer. No social media. And what we say is, have any of those things ever kept you sober? The answer always seems to be no. So what we're doing is we're trying to get down to the root of the problem and to help them to get that taken care of. Take care of yourselves. They can't even have contact with family.
Wow.
So, not for a while.
Yeah.
But usually they'll end up, if they stay and do the things that they do and have the lives that they come out with, they said it was the best thing that ever happened. And like I say, sometimes, you know, right now, you don't have a whole lot to give your family, your kids. How many times have you gone back and forth? And you're gone, then you're here, then you're gone, then you're here. I don't ever want you to have to be away from them again.
But we've often learned that there are triggers within the family
Absolutely.
for those who might be a substance abuser.
Absolutely.
Are the principles of the 12-step program modeled in your program?
absolutely.
And it is considered a faith-based program.
It's a faith-based program and a 12-step base, you know, which are very cohesively knitted together.
Yeah.
Once you get into the Bible, and I was into the 12 steps before I was into the Bible, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I thought my pastor was teaching out of the big book when I first went to church. So I wasn't going to church ever. That was but what we do is we allow them to say they don't believe or they're angry or whatever, but they're still, I said, we don't force you to believe anything, but you will be exposed. Most of the time when they're exposed, they form a spiritual bond. They're very active in our church, and they have a lot of jobs at the church. They're very
Yeah.
well respected. And it's so neat because they are totally accepted in this church. They open the doors of the church every
Yeah.
week for every service.
So do you get referrals? How do people come to you? How do they become part of Ascent? And then, there is a difference between some who live in the house. So tell us how
Yeah.
they would get that
The ones
position.
that live in the house are mainly, most of them are justice involved. So they come through the courts. And some of other ones come through treatment centers, because we don't take people off the streets because we have to be sure that they're stabilized. We don't try to take on more than we're qualified for. So they have had to have at least a couple of weeks clean within a facility. And most of them a lot of them come from jail, some come from prisons. I like to say sometimes we should have been named last resort, because people don't want to come until we're the last resort before prison. And sometimes they'd rather go to prison.
They have to get really, really down and out, and then
Yes.
they'll make that
Yeah.
decision.
So we're not talking about just lightweight people
Yeah.
that this is their first try. They're never going to come to our program because it's too structured and strict. And they've got to be at the bottom.
What are the biggest benefits of having a house, a stable place to live?
Oh my gosh, that is so beneficial, because a lot of times most of our people, our men, have been homeless at some point or another in their journey. And having a nice, and that's a reason for the new home. We were in a different home for several years, which was fine, but our board said, maybe we need to step this up. Maybe they need to feel really proud of where they're living. And oh my gosh, did it ever make a difference.
Yeah.
They keep this house very nice, and it's a nice home in a nice neighborhood. And it does make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
They just walk in and go, wow.
Take us briefly through a day in the life at Ascent. So,
Okay.
because you want them to get jobs, but there is work to be done.
Oh my gosh.
There.
So a day in the life. Well, number one, they've got to go to 5 12-step meetings a week. They've got to go to church. They have a Monday night house meeting. Every Monday night, that's their house meeting, where they come together as a community and go over what's gone on that week in the house, whether there are house issues, so on and so forth. Wednesday night, we have spiritual life at the church. Then they're always, Friday night, they have another meeting at the house. And Saturday, they have a meeting in the morning on Saturday morning, and Sunday is church. Then they have their own meeting at the house, which is called that's their group meeting, and somebody tells their story and cooks the meal.
Yeah.
And so it's, and they go over the house issues they're going to discuss, because this is a community and everybody's responsible for keeping the rules, but they're also responsible if someone else isn't.
Okay.
Then they are required to, on Sunday night, they say, hey, either you're going to tell them or I'm going to tell them, basically.
We're going to talk more about the house in a later segment. How does Ascent help addicts navigate reintegration? Because sometimes going back to that old life, it doesn't work, right?
Yes, yes. And that we help them to, they always say people, places, and things. You stay away from the people, places, and things where you came from. And that's with the reintegration. We do that very gradually with family. That's why we don't have it immediately. We do a lot of things very gradually. But when they get their jobs, we've also got getting it right. We've got the Friday night meeting is more of a reintegration. How are we going to reintegrate back? But most of it is just by living the life that they're living, because it gives them that foundation.
Right.
They go to meetings. They're ingrained in that community. They're also at a job, and they're ingrained in going to work every day. And they're seeing rewards, and that's another one of the big things about this is they start seeing the rewards of what living a life like that means for them. They start getting back things, and we, if they need to go, but we help them reintegrate for sure. I mean, this whole thing is a reintegration process. Okay. We have them at church. They're out front. They're doing things that they've never done before. Excellent. And they're liking it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing all that about Ascent. We're going to take a break. When we come back, student Cody Daniels will talk one-on-one with a graduate of the Ascent Recovery Residence Program. Now, as we go to break, check out what happens at the Recovery Outreach Community Center, or the ROC.
We opened the ROC in 2019. There were several of us in the community that saw a real need for a community center for people who were trying to recover, to have a safe place to go. This is actually a peer-run recovery center. Everybody that works here has lived experience.
We have male and female peers here who can walk alongside any one of these people, whether they're just as involved or just need someone to help them navigate through their recovery, find IDs, birth certificates, all those things we're able to help them with.
You know, peer supports have always been, we've kind of called them sponsors and mentors in the 12-step programs, but now they are taking a real important place in the recovery process, even if you're not in a 12-step program. We don't charge for anything as far as our offerings.
We have several educational classes. We have an MRT class that meets twice weekly, and that's moral recognition therapy. It's kind of getting out of criminal thinking. We have relapse prevention. We have a family parenting class.
We've got computers for job search. We've started a cooking class that's going over very well. We collaborate with a lot of the other recovery houses to let them know what goes on here. We've had such community support from the courts. It's just been a really great journey. We are a destination point in the community, and that's what we want to be for recovering people. It's a safe, comfortable place, and we love it.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Cody Daniels. As an addict in recovery and a peer specialist myself who utilized the Recovery House program, I know something about the value of having stability and accountability in one's life. Ascent Recovery is a similar program. We're now joined by Austin Smith, a certified peer specialist at Ascent and a graduate of the program himself. Welcome, Austin. Thanks for joining us to share your journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Cody.
Absolutely. So Austin, I know you've been helping a lot of people out who came after you. What did you learn from the Ascent program that transferred into your career today?
You know, I'd say a lot of the key things probably would be honesty, accountability, and structure.
Awesome. So tell us briefly about your experience with addiction and how you got to the point to where you felt hopeless.
Yeah, you know, so I started using drugs at a very young age. I was 13 years old whenever I started smoking marijuana habitually. And then that led to meth habitually at 17. And yeah, just a lot of trouble. You know, I had a lot of legal problems and then a lot of family problems. And I went through a time of being homeless and just, you know, it was really rough.
So there was a time when you felt like you might end up in prison, but you were given another chance. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
How did you find Ascent?
Yeah, like I spent all of my 20s and 30s in and out of prison, on probation, on parole, stuff like that. And then once I finally got off parole, I had relapsed again, and then I just couldn't stay out of trouble. Like I was on probation, and I earned, I guess, 3 new cases after that, and was literally at that point to where, you know, if I didn't get help, I was going back again, you know, and by that time I was 40 years old. And I actually happened to, a guy I grew up with, which is, you know, it's definitely a God moment in my life, that he actually was an Ascent graduate and knew about the program. And basically told me, he said, hey, you need to get a hold of Teddy Steen. And I'll quote him here. He says, you can either go to Ascent Recovery and change your life, or you can go to a different sober living program and stay out of prison. But you need to make that choice, and I chose Ascent.
Wow. So had you tried other programs before? Why were you successful at
Yeah,
Ascent?
so I had actually. I tried. So I guess the first program was I did a year of treatment in DOC, and then I went to a different sober living program and a different recovery house when I first came to Joplin, and it didn't work. And honestly, I think it was a little combination of both. It wasn't the program for me, and I wasn't quite ready yet.
Cool. So tell us how the house itself has helped you in your recovery.
So having a house, it satisfies the basic needs that need to be met, so that I could have a chance to actually work on the things that I needed to work on, you know. Yeah, you need a safe environment that provides, shelter and food and then, the guys in the house, you get a sense of community where you guys are on like-minded journey and it really helps.
So you've worked at a couple places since becoming certified by the credentialing board. How does it feel to have come full circle and now be working for the same program that helped you to get clean?
So it feels really good, and there's a lot of days that it feels almost surreal, like it shouldn't even happen. I could have never, if you would have asked me, 10 years ago, or if you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, look, this is what you're going to be doing in 10 years, I would have thought you were crazy, and to be full circle now and be able to help people that are literally in the exact same position that I was in not that long ago, it's truly a blessing. And I think it also gives me it gives me a little extra tool that I can use, because when I'm working with the guys, when I'm talking to them, I can literally relate firsthand.
That's awesome. What would you say to addicts who need a program like this?
I would say, it's up to you. It's really your choice to do it, and if you have the opportunity, take advantage of it. Because change is possible.
How would somebody know that they're ready to take a step into a program like this?
So, for me, I tried everything else. Prison didn't work. Other programs didn't work. Staying sober for my family didn't work. I was basically at the end of the road and was just hopeless. And so something had to work, and Ascent did.
So tell us a little bit about how Ascent is different from other programs.
So Ascent is it's a lot more close-knit, if you will.
Sure.
So the house has a fewer number of guys. So there's 7 guys in the IRP house, whereas other programs, you're going to have more people. Ascent is peer-driven. It's peer-run. So it's, guys living together, holding each other accountable. Guys living together, going, in the same process, helping each other see the things that they can't see for themselves.
So the program of Ascent has a spiritual aspect. How is it important that, programs like this incorporate that into it?
So, my whole life before Ascent was my self-will. It was me trying to change different aspects, me trying to do this, me trying to do that. At Ascent, I learned that, there's a power greater than me. And that, I don't have to do it by myself. And so finding that higher power has been key to staying clean and sober.
So you work out of the Rock now. How does that center benefit the residencies of Ascent, or the residents at Ascent?
So the Rock it gives the guys a place to go to, basically regroup, so they can sit there. We've got peer support up there, and it gives them an opportunity to come in there. They can do job searches on the computer. They can, we have a cooking class, we have stuff like that, but it's like that for everybody, so anybody that comes in off the street can come in and use any of those resources as well.
So Austin, you guys just recently got a new house for the residents. So can you tell us a little bit about the new house?
Oh my gosh, it's so nice, Cody. It's a really nice house. So whenever I went through Ascent, it was the old house, and it was a decent house. It was pretty cool, but the new house is just, it's so much nicer, and I can see a sense of pride in the guys, you know, just being able to live there and the way that they maintain it, and just, you know, it has a really good home feel to it. And
Cool. All right, so we'll learn a little bit more about that in our next segment. We're going to take a short break. I just want to thank you, Austin, for being here. Thank you so much. And Lisa will be back with more on Ascent Recovery.
thank you, Cody.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. Ascent Recovery recently purchased a home for the program, and they're on a mission to pay off the mortgage. We continue our conversation with founder Teddy Steen and certified peer specialist Austin Smith. Welcome back.
Hi.
Thank you.
So we have some images of the new house. Teddy, how does owning a house help secure the future of Ascent?
Well, I think it's an investment for one. And we just wanted to, instead of just having that rental and all that kind of stuff, we wanted to have something very nice, and we just think that it's an investment and it makes them feel permanent. It's a new place in a community.
And of course, paying off the mortgage would then help reduce interest rates.
Oh my gosh, the thing is, we really don't like having to pay interest. I know we've had a good down payment, but having that interest payment is money that is not going to our program. And we want all of our money to be able to go to the guys.
Yeah. A goal of the program is for clients to become self-sustaining too. So do they pay any fees or any rent? What's that like, Austin?
Yeah, so absolutely. So there's fees, and then there's an allotment of money that goes towards the food, and then so the beginning part of that program, you actually get a spend allowance, and then it's mandatory that you put the rest of the money into savings. So you actually, by the time you complete the first section of the program and go to the second phase, then you actually have a nice little nest egg in savings.
And is that a good thing, do you think, for teaching financial responsibility, but also helping you along the way?
Oh, it's absolutely a good thing, you know, and part of it is too, you get to process, like if you have court fees that you need to pay, or if you have payments and stuff like that, then you process that, and you start learning how to pay things on time, and yeah, it's really good.
Okay, so what are some of the ways you guys hope to raise funds to pay off the mortgage? Are you just looking for donations?
Donations are great, and we put, you know, it's mostly donations. And we do some different letters and promotions, and if we have an extra, like we'll have a fundraiser, we'll probably, our golf tournament, and we'll probably put some of those funds towards that.
So we have a 5K coming up in September where people can come and either walk or run or just volunteer or whatever, and so we're going to raise some funds that way too.
Yeah,
All right, we'll put all the information on the screen. Are you able to receive grants?
Yes.
So that's something
And
you work on?
normally what we use the grants for are programming
Okay.
instead of that, and I don't know that we might run across one, and if we did, we'd sure try to use it, but for right now, all the grants that we get go back into our programming, go back into the guys.
So what's the goal of the money you're trying to raise?
Gosh, I think it's $175,000.
And Austin, what is about the turnaround? You know, how long does someone usually take to go through this program?
You know, so it took me 14 months. That's how long I stayed, but I think the longest person stayed 45 months, something like that. You know, so there's no pressure on there's no pressure on when to leave. You know, so it's 12 months minimum basically, and then whenever you feel comfortable, like you're at a good place to go ahead and take that next step and get your own place.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, there's 2 phases.
Yeah.
And the first phase is where we do the money and all those things, and then there's the second phase of the program that you have to stay at least 90 days in.
Right.
And that's where the people will stay, but they get their phone back, computers back, they start handling their own money, they buy their own food. Each of them does. You can talk to girls. Got a later curfew and less meetings. So now we're tempering them they're tempering themselves basically down to what it's going to be more like when they get in the real world.
Yeah, you sort of an integration
It's an
window.
integration period, and they see that in the very first of it, a lot of times they kind of go a little bit wild, but then they but we're there to help them, and the other guys are there to help them rein themselves in and say, hey, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself. It's just like that kid that's been really strict parents, and then all of a sudden they're away at college, you know. They're,
Well, let's talk about, how do you guys measure success? You know, how do you, I mean, because have there been some who've come back to the house and gone through the program some more?
Right. Yeah, there really are. And I don't know. That's a good question, how to measure success. I think really you see it if they keep coming back around. You know, if they stay connected. If they stay connected and they're happy, and you can see it a lot of times in their children's lives, you know, like you can see them with their children and stuff like that.
There are some people that do go back out and come back in, and some of them live a fairly normal life without the program, but it's very, very few and far between that are able to successfully, because most of our people are true alcoholics and addicts.
Right.
They are true, and which means that's that physical impairment.
But you did say that the recidivism is different from prison.
Well, oh yes, and I see a lot of people that are still out there and they're not doing great, but they're not getting rearrested. They're not committing more crimes, and they are remaining with their families, and they are doing a lot of the things that they're supposed to be doing. In my opinion, it's not they're not living as successfully as they could live, but they're not living like they used to live.
Right, and there's even people that, you know, say they didn't successfully make it through the program.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say that they regretted making the choice to go to the program. If anything, it at least puts some, you know, plants some seeds in there and lets them know, you know, little tidbits, so by the time that they do get ready, they know. Or if they end up running across somebody that needs a program, they always recommend Ascent.
If the funding were available, would you open another house?
We talked about transitional housing.
Transitional
even after the other one would be totally kind of on their own. One thing I do have to say, our best referral source is people who have not completed Ascent and they're back in jail.
Oh, there you go.
And that's our best referral source, I think.
Well, thank you for sharing your stories and your mission, and we wish you all the best in raising funds for paying off the mortgage.
Yeah, thank you.
That wraps up this edition of Newsmakers. If you know someone in need of addiction help, there are many resources available. You can find information about Ascent Recovery and Residences at the website rockjoplin.com. That's ROCCjoplin.com, or go to the Ascent Recovery and Residences Facebook page. Thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching Newsmakers.